Okay, Lupinranger 13 and Build episode 34. Actually a good outing from the Lupinranger this week. Tsukasa and Umika go to I want to say... No, not playground. I'm forgetting the exact phrase. Theme park, that's it. They go to a theme park, both of them hunting after this plush doll. Tsukasa, because as for showcase in the series, she loves all kind of cute, cuddly, plushy things. And Umika, because her friend was a fan of this thing and wanted to get it in memorial of them. And also in the event that Umika and the other Lupinranger succeed in reviving their friends, hey, now her friend has it for their collection. Unfortunately, for some reason, single-person tickets are all sold out, so they had to get a pair pass and just do the events of stuff together. Until at least the last one, which is a haunted house, which reveals that Tsukasa is afraid of haunted houses. Even the show points this out and how ridiculous it is, and Umika saying that she can fight Gangler with no problem, which are actual real monsters, versus all the clearly fake crap. Really? I mean, yeah, I've been in haunted houses that give off an ominous atmosphere, but, that's kind of part of the fun of them. And, I'm the guy who can't handle horror movies most of the time, so this seems extremely odd. Regardless, the monster of the week attacks with a Lupin collection piece that is either from Patranger or Hurricaneger, or at least that's the representative of it, in that it's a giant scroll case that creates chain-sealing barriers, which ends up locking Umika and Tsukasa up, at least once Umika is in her Lupinranger disguise, the mask and the fancy dress stuff, and it's like, we kind of got a Clark Kent thing going with the Lupinranger and their disguises, really. It's kind of annoying, especially since Tsukasa is the one that, pseudo-figured it out. Their secret identities that they then had to fake out, but, time and place. So yeah, they end up having to work together to beat the monster, and there's some both good and bad in this, in that Tsukasa is one of the Patranger that is amicable to working with the Lupinranger to defeat the Gangler, and has in the past been amicable to, letting the Lupinranger get their goal if they in turn will assist in defeating the monster. This is previously established canon, and Keiichiro is always the one that keeps fucking that up and not seeing the enemy of the enemy is my friend, even if they are also a criminal thing. Because the consistent way Lupinranger vs. Patranger keeps screwing up is not making the police officers actually buy into this. It's like, as I keep saying, they're going for the Lupin the Third parallels with this series, with the roles they keep placing characters into, but they keep screwing up the aspect of Zenigata with respect to the Patranger side, that while Zenigata would constantly try to arrest Lupin, he would acknowledge and understand where there was a bigger threat and cooperate fully with Lupin into taking them down. This is something the 2014 movie, which was pretty widely badly received, got right about the character and the relationships. So, what does it say about the series that is clearly trying to echo that kind of relationship with its, with all the character relations, when they can't even do that right? Still, this is a better one, as they eventually do get to working together in achieving the goal, especially since, they're chained up, so they need to work together to get unchained, and the frustrating thing about it is it's still steeped in animosity and antagonism, especially with Umika realizing that she would have to backstab Tsukasa if she tries to destroy the monster if she doesn't retrieve the collection piece first. But Umika is still fully wanting to, collaborate with her in the interim. So it's like, how far does the trust go? And the reality is, the trust should go a lot farther, but Keiichiro just keeps fucking that up for them in the long term. And it's good that they're calling back to this concern, because it's true. The Lupinranger can't trust the Patranger if they're just going to be as reckless as they have been with regards to these items and the prioritization of destroying the Gangler over all else. Hell, it's another sign of how they're also bad police officers, in that while the show keeps saying that they're trying to prioritize the well-being of others in their activities, they haven't really shown that much at all. But at least, again, they're calling it out, but the problem is whether they'll actually even do anything with it. I like that they're calling it out, but I'm pretty sure, again, they're not going to do much with it, because this episode was written by Naruhisa Arakawa, who, as I keep saying, is arguably Toei's best long-running writer, but he's not a regular on the show as far as I understand it. They just called him in for a few spare episodes, not to take over the show from Junko Komura, which... Because one of the things Naruhisa Arakawa does very well is character interplay and interactions, which this episode certainly more than succeeds with, but it's bogged down by the existing continuity that it has to... it's chained with, no pun intended, with regards to the monster power, and how you could so easily see these two groups in operating under amicable terms, and yet it's not appearing to happen, really. This actually feels like it's one of the better examples of the two allying despite the discordant differences, as, hey, the Gangler still gets defeated, the Lupinranger still get the prize, but it's the way it's dealt with, in that Umika and Tsukasa are also not the ones to finish off the monster on their own with their collaboration. It's just the Lupinranger backing them up while Tsukasa collapses, which continues the running theme with the series where the Patranger are pushed to the side because they're more inept than the more competent Lupinranger. And as I keep saying about this entire Versus event, that is not how you were supposed to do this. And I'm pretty sure it's like the 7th or 8th time Lupin Kaiser's been called out to end the Monster of the Week out of, 13 episodes. It should be a lot more balanced than that. But yeah, this is a good episode, but saddled with the ongoing problems with the series that are just hitting me more and more as the upfront problem. Still not a bad show, just a really problematic one thus far. Build, however... Evolt wins. I guess that's the simplest way to put it. Evolt has defeated Gentoku, that was last episode, and he, as usual with the introduction of new riders, curb stomps everybody else with his hazard level 5. Now we also got stats on Evolt Phase 1, his Cobra form, released over the last week, and as it turns out, the super powerful Uber Space Dad? Yeah, Kamen Rider Poppy from Exade can kick his ass. At least by just normal stat line stuff. At least all the stat debut and information about Evolt Phase 1. It's obviously going to get stronger because he has Phase 2 Dragon, Phase 3 Rabbit, and of course Black Hole before he gets ultimate power, but still, it's kind of funny that in Phase 1 he could be stopped by the second weakest fighter among all of Team Exade by the end of the series. I mean, the power tier scaling of Exade got insane, granted, Poppy can kick the asses by stat line of most of the Kamen Riders in existence. But wow, that is kind of another example of how crazy, not crazy, of how far the Lensman Arms race went in Exade beyond the previous expectations of the franchise. That Evolt, the presumed big bad final end boss of the series, can get trumped by, Kamen Rider Poppy. Yeah. But yeah, Evolt curb stomps everybody and infects Sento with some kind of virus originating from Mars somehow. It's not exactly explained where the hell he got that from, but all he does is use his Mars powers to create it. So for all we know, it's not an actual virus, but an energy-based infection, or he created the infection virus from type of energy form that is incompatible with certain types of organic life. Whatever. Point is, Sento's dying, and Evolt's the only one who can undo it, and in exchange for Sento's life, he demands all the full bottles in Pandora's box to essentially give him the ultimate win button. Ryuga is not quite up to it, but draws Evolt into a trap anyways to just punch him out and possibly defeat him, to force him to remove Sento's infection, or if the infection is based on Evolto's powers, then basically kicking his ass would presumably make him lose control of it. But here's where Evolt throws us another curveball. And it's a good curveball as well, with what it reveals. See, apparently Takumi Katsuragi isn't quite the devil scientist we thought him as. Apparently he found his father's files on Evolto, and his creation of the build driver was in part a deterrent against his threat. And the real reason behind why Stark wiped Takumi's memory was because he found out about Evolt and Ryuga's identities as Martians, and the day that Stark wiped his memories, he was planning to kill them with the build driver. Unfortunately, Stark saw this coming, invited Sato Taro up to the apartment, framed and set up the whole framing thing, basically as a deterrent to make his own rephrase. He set up the whole framing and identity scheme not just to get Takumi to finish developing the full bottles, but also to prevent him from doing anything against Evolt or Ryuga until Evolt's plans were altogether in place. And we also get a filling of a plot hole right here. You see, when Sento tries to fight, when Takumi tries to fight Stark back then, he tried to use Gorilla Diamond form. Now, if you'll all remember from the early part of the series, Gorilla was one of the full bottles that Sento had to create to reintroduce Gorilla Diamond form. But we had the plot hole from Build's early bird cameos in Exade, in the ending episodes of the series, and also True Ending, where as a post-credit stinger, Build as Takumi used Gorilla Diamond against Exade to steal the essence of the Bugster virus from Emu. God, I haven't thought of his name, so I was forgetting his name. But basically, the big plot hole was he doesn't have Gorilla Diamond until the early episodes of the series. Thus, it has to be Sento's that's doing this, but the timeline doesn't match up. The nature of Sento doesn't match up with this. Sento doesn't know how to dimension hop, and it's said Takumi Katsuragi is the one that did all of this. And even some of Takumi Katsuragi's came through with the portrayal of the guy. So this is specifically filling that plot hole in showing that Takumi using the Gorilla full bottle, and then because Stark swapped the build driver for the prototype driver, it meant that the essence of the Gorilla full bottle was emptied out, so it became an empty full bottle again, without the essence of that creature theme in it. So he had to recollect it at the beginning of the series. Plot hole filled. I'm glad we're working with writers that can fill in those little aspects of miscontinuity. Or at least with relation to the movies, where, yeah, you want to actually affirm these things and not ignore or rewrite them at all. It's, again, why I have long preferred Neo Heisei's approaches to canon and cross-series continuity than pretty much everybody else's utilization of it. But Yeah, the reason why Takumi got mind-wiped in the beginning, so Stark could use him, was because he found out about Evolt, and the other fact about Ryuga. Apparently, my supposition last week about Ryuga's nature was off the mark. Apparently, whatever creature that fused itself with Ryuga's mom, and that by proxy Ryuga in the womb, was a aspect of Evolt himself. Now, I'm not entirely on board with this, in that Ryuga being the physical manifestation of Evolt, and Evolt itself just being the mind possessing Tsurugi. It makes sense from a storytelling standpoint about, everything Stark does in trying to build up Ryuga's hazard level so he could refuse with his true self. The problem is, well, Stark's a liar. I don't think that's the case. Hell, I especially don't think that's the case in wake of what Bernage did. Because only a few episodes ago, Bernage, in possession of Misora as usual, said that Ryuga was their hope against this. Now, why would Bernage say that Ryuga was their hope in fighting this off if Ryuga was in truth a piece of Evolt, the destroyer of Mars? That doesn't quite add up, does it? So, I think Stark is lying outright to get a better host body than Tsurugi, as Tsurugi is just a human, meaning that it's likely the use of the Evolt driver and this long-term possession is possibly breaking him down. While Ryuga, being part Martian or part of an entity from Mars who has constantly raised his hazard level like crazy, is potentially more inundated and immune to the stresses that would be forced upon his body. Because there's a reason that Stark hasn't been an active antagonist in this and is more stayed to the sides. Even with that immense power, there's got to be a reason why he couldn't just go and beat everybody on his own. His power level has been pretty erratic, and has always been more of a sneaker, which would make more sense for an entity that has to conserve his power or is otherwise constrained or limited by the body he is using. He might be able to raise its hazard level, but as from Soichiro Tsurugi's notes from the last episode showed, where Sento was running through all of them and the English text, no human should be able to obtain a hazard level of 5 without dying. Thus why, again, Evolt would need Ryuga if he wants an immortal body, or at least a body that can withstand the power of hazard level 5 and its potential corruptions. If what I keep saying about that is true, Tsurugi would eventually be failing as a host body and need to jump ship to one that could. I think I just said that like 3 different ways, but it's pretty much the same point I keep coming back to in my head. Stark's a liar, there's obviously some ulterior motive, and with Ryuga now at hazard level 5 due to the need to protect and save someone initiated by Sento being in danger, which is the only way that Ryuga's hazard level has ever risen, in contrast to Evolt's words on it again, where it's just battle alone that raises Ryuga's hazard level. Like, it feels more like he's fainted. It's a feint, and Ryuga was intended to be the protector of the Pandora's box, and by Evolt possessing him directly, he can get past that protection. It's the way that makes the most sense to me, even though that's probably not the way the show is going about it. But regardless, yeah, Ryuga's possessed by Evolt, and with that, he's got pretty much all of the full bottles needed to open the Pandora's box, meaning episode 35, that's likely where we're headed. Where we're also potentially headed is, since next week is episode 35, that means by the average rate of final form debuts, which usually average being between episode 32 and episode 36, episode 40 at the latest, with exception to Kugo Ultimate. This is a potential lead-in to the debut of Genius Form, and as I keep saying about Genius Form as well, if it's a condensation of all the Full Bottle's potential, and, well, the best way to go about doing that with the current straits of the show is it's born directly from the Pandora's Box's power as a final lock to it potentially being another destructive force. Meaning it's either something innate Ryuga does, or something Bernage does to make Evolt not be able to get his win condition. What episode 34 also reveals here is that Bernage's soul, yeah, she's not, going to be able to supply backup for much longer. All of the Full Bottle creation, all of the healing she gave Banjo, the, piece of the Pandora's Box, and the creation of Krusty Dragon Magma that were both her doing as well, yeah, it's pretty much tapped out her soul, so she's barely there anymore, and, well, them's the breaks. It might be that her last act in this series is going to be helping Sento with the creation of Genius Form to fight off Evolt. Hell, Evolt not getting the power of the Pandora's Box might be why we eventually get him creating the Evolve trigger to advance his Evolve driver in personal form into the black hole form we keep getting teased in the promotional details. Because, like, if he obtains the power of the Pandora's Box in its entirety, like, what need would he have of another form change? So yeah, that's the logic I'm running with for that. Otherwise, yeah, pretty dramatic episode. A lot of good moments from Ryuga here who show how he's grown as a character, in that when the series would have started, he would have only really more cared about himself and his own impulses, whereas at this point in the series, the first thing on his mind is fighting to help save and protect others. And I doubt this is the last we're going to see of the character, even though that's how they keep teasing it, but it definitely is a, I don't want to say climax, but culmination of his personal character arc in becoming a better person, concerned about more than himself. So, again, good one all around. That's all I got for right now. I know Heisei Generation's Final just got released onto DVD, waiting for competent fan subs of it. Also waiting for competent fan subs of the Another Ending movies, as I didn't want to do those either before we got Heisei Generation's Final, as Heisei Generation's Final is said before those films, and basically I'm just waiting on a bunch of stuff to actually talk about those, because, yeah, I want to talk about the events that created the God Maximum Mighty X. Yeah, so, still waiting on that. Till then, I'll see you all later.